Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So it's that time of week again. It's our usual Friday night live. It's a brand new year, so it's a brand new start for a lot of people. Um, a lot of people will be getting into gardening new. A lot of people will be wanting to have a go at gardening for the first time, and a lot of people will be wanting to just pick up from where they left off last year, like me, and try and improve on some of the things that went well and some of the things that didn't go so well in the previous year. So let's let's wipe the slate. Let's wipe the slate clean and have a fresh start for this year, and start as we mean to go on. So what I'm thinking is, I'm just at the moment, I know I haven't put a video out for a couple of weeks or a little bit longer. I'm just so snowed under. I'm just really struggling at the minute for time. I thought I'd managed to get one filmed last week, and I wanted to get my grow pads out and get my chilies planted, but I'm way behind compared to where I normally am. But hopefully, maybe tomorrow. I keep saying maybe, but there's just so much on at the minute. Um, it's my busiest month of the year for work. So this year, just sort of December, January just goes absolutely mental, and you've got to catch up with everything. Um, but we'll see. We'll get back to normal. Let's get through this month, and we'll get back to normal, and we'll get back to making films again regularly, and we'll get them out regularly a bit more. So we've got, as usual, we're streaming across YouTube and on TikTok. So as you're coming in, make sure you're hitting that like for me, please, and make sure you're sharing the stream if you can, and just inviting your friends and everyone else. So John on TikTok is saying cold spell on the way. Absolutely, it's going to start getting cold from tonight, and looks like the rest of the month is going to be pretty cold. So if you have got any sort of plants that you're hoping to overwinter, just make sure that they're protected from the frost. Kopek, good evening. How are you doing? Thanks very much for coming in. Margaret, Gmailers, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Margaret, thanks very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. Quick question. I have lots of pots. I want to know if I want to know of you got a good recommendation for a variety of sweet pepper and aubergine that does well indoors. Okay. Oh, what does well outdoors? So long purple does really well outside as aubergine. If you have a look at my video from last year, my aubergine harvesting video from last year, I was harvesting tons of them. Really baskets full, long aubergines, probably about a foot long. Some of them even longer. So that's a really good variety. The bigger you want, the dwarfer, the dwarfing fruits. The ones that produce the small fruits, they tend to do better in a smaller area. I normally find if I plant a Black Beauty or a Gardener's Delight into a Moneymaker into a pot, they normally produce one or two large fruit rather than loads. But the long purples, they always produce lots and lots of fruit, and they do well in pots. But with aubergines, they are big plants, so make sure you've got a nice big pot for them. So at least 10 liters, that sort of size, and they'll do well in them. As long as you feed them and give them good nutritious soil, they'll feed well. And sweet peppers as well. In a 10-liter pot, they'll be fine. Sweet peppers, with peppers, you can go a little bit smaller on the pot size. The root restriction will actually help them produce fruit a little bit more. When pepper plants are stressed, they tend to produce fruit a little bit more. So if you're going to plant something like what's a nice one that we planted? We planted sweet banana. My daughter loves them. She absolutely loves sweet banana. They're a good one that she really likes. I've got 2 broad bean plants. Should I cover those for the frost? What variety of broad bean are there? If they're things like aqua dulce, they'd normally be okay in the frost. They'll survive sub-zero temperatures. I've got some broad beans outside. I'm not going to worry about them. The biggest threat to broad beans is heavy winds, because if they're floppy plants, unless they're staked in, the winds are the ones that does the most damage to them. What else? Should I start long purple indoors under grow lights? Absolutely. Now's a great time to start your aubergines. If you start them now on a heat mat, and then now up until about end of February is a good time to plant aubergines, because they need that long growing season. I mean, I'm up in the north of England, so unless we start them really early, we're not going to get a good harvest, or we'll get a harvest right at the end. Now, I want harvests in towards June, all the way from June all the way to sort of September, October time. That's when I want a harvest. So I start them now so I can make sure I get a long harvest season, rather than starting them a little bit later and then getting a harvest right at the end. I want a good harvest all the way through. I want to grow as much homegrown food as possible. So I start a lot of aubergines. I'll start now. Chilies definitely now. I still haven't started most of my chilies yet, so I need to get those really on the go. Tomatoes I'll start in mid to late February. Yeah. Lettuce is a good thing to grow now as well. But broad beans, get them planted out. Yeah, if you get them into pots, if you're planting them from seed, stick them in a seed and just leave them in the greenhouse, or leave them somewhere, even outside. Leave them covered somewhere. Just use a bit of a plastic milk bottle or something to cover them, and they'll be absolutely fine. Should I start? I tried super hot chilies last year outdoors, and did very. Last year was a bad chili season for me as well. I think it was because it was just too cold. It was up and down the season. It was really nice one day, and May was really nice. Then June was horrible, and then July was really, really, okay, and then August was absolutely miserable. So I think last year a lot of people struggled with chilies. So I wouldn't get disheartened because of that. So Goran, thanks very much for coming in. Happy New Year to you. Hope you're keeping well. It's called Sutton Broadbean. Sutton's probably the brand, because that's a famous brand, but I'm not sure if that's the variety. Hot chilies are small plants. If you want sort of the long type chilies, the green chili types, basket of fire is always really good for outdoors. What else is good? If you want something a little bit different, you could try Adji lemon. They're really nice. They've got a bit of a funny flavor. Well, they're called lemons, so they've got a bit of a citrusy flavor, but they have got some serious heat to them. Guys, as you're coming in, make sure you're hitting that like for me as well. So my wife's teasing me from behind the camera, because she asked me to put a new curtain rail up, and so I started to put the curtain rail up, right, and I spread everything, all the screws and all the plugs and everything nicely out on the floor before I was going to use them, and I put half of it up, put the middle bracket in, put one bracket in, and now all of a sudden the curtain rail, the screws and the plugs have gone missing. Right, so now obviously someone's moved them, or someone's kicked them under the sofa. So we're looking under the sofa, looking under the wood pile, looking all over the place, looking for them, and probably for half an hour we're just looking for these screws and these plugs, and as usual, I'm getting really frustrated because I wanted to just get on and get ready for the live, and we can't find these plugs. They've completely vanished. So the plugs have vanished. Everything's disappeared. You can't. You know what can you do? You can't get it going. So yeah, I'm getting really frustrated. My wife's getting annoyed with me. Yeah, and what do you do? So I sent her to the kitchen to go and have a look in there, see if anyone's taking them into there while I'm picking up the sofas again, having a look under there. And then she comes back in and goes, what are you wearing? Just check your pockets. And lo and behold, the screws and the plugs are in my pocket. So there you go. Yeah. So that's a little bit of home DIY adventures tonight. So how long does aubergine seeds last for? Do you mean the plant, or do you mean the how long the seed's viable for? Um, yeah. So if you mean the plant, I mean, remember aubergines are a short-lived perennial, so they like the plant itself would last for up to about 5 years if you can overwinter them properly in the native climate. They stay like that. But if you're talking the seeds, how long the seeds are viable for, it depends on how you've looked after them. You can Most of these kind of seeds are long-lived seeds, so you can keep the viability of an aubergine seed, a chili seed, a tomato seed for over 10 years if you've looked after them right. Most of them, I ignore what the seed packets tend to say. Seed packets tend to say, you know, they're out of date by in a couple of years. But I tend to ignore that. I've got seeds that are 10 years old and I'm still using them. Okay, so your germination rates might not be as good, but just because they're older seeds, it doesn't mean that they're not going to produce good plants. So and if you're storing seeds, probably the best way to store them is if you've got a paper envelope, and just keep them in there, keep them away from excess moisture, and they'll be fine. Um, Keeping them in plastic bags tends to make them rot, so just be careful of that, um, especially if there's any moisture in there when you've locked them up. Um, so if you're saving your own seeds, especially when you're saving your own seeds, that's one thing to be wary of. If you put them in plastic bags, they can end up rotting. So keep them in a breathable container. Paper envelope is absolutely perfect. Well, when I do that, my wife tells me I'm too young to be forgetful. Um, yeah, I do that, and I just get another telling off. You know, um, especially because of how frustrated I was getting not being able to do it. Um, what do you think about supermarket potatoes for growing? Uh, I, if you can't get seed potatoes, then do that. But they're not the best for growing for a couple of reasons. Sometimes they can be sprayed with a growth resistant, spray or something to stop them from germinating, just to prolong the shelf life. Not all potatoes do that, but the biggest one is the risk of disease. Now, seed potatoes are, certified to be disease free. They're grown in climates. A lot of them come from high climates, high altitudes in Scotland. So when they're grown like that, things like scab and things, don't survive in that climate, and that makes them a really good seed to use. So you're not spreading scab to your soil. Um, so I'd tend to recommend, or my advice would always be, use seed potatoes where you can. Now, if you've got no access to anything else, plant the supermarket ones. You'll get something. Um, So my local community group is having a potato seed event, 5 seeds for £1. Um, that that's an okay price. I mean, you can get the same sort of deal in Poundland as well. Um, I always thought 5 seed potatoes for £1 is quite expensive. Um, I'm really gutted that Wilco's is closed. That's one thing that's really heartbreaking. Because I used to go into Wilco's and I'd always get my favorite variety of potatoes. I'd always get Desiree, and you can get like 3 kilo bags or 2.5 kilo bags, and it was like £3 for 2.5 kilo bags. And with the bigger potatoes, cut them in half, let them, and then you've got 2 seed potatoes. So that's one thing that really I'm really upset about. Wilco's closing down. Um, so I need to find somewhere where I can get my seed potatoes now. Um, I used to get my onions from there as well. I'd always get my onions from Wilco's, but Wilco's. But now I grow my majority of my onions from seed. That's one. If you haven't already started, plant your seeds ASAP. Your onion seeds, get them in the ground really urgently. Um, I think so. Last thing I bought from Wilco is gardening gloves. See, I'm really disappointed with Wilco's shutting down. It's really disappointing, is that? So lots of people popping in on TikTok and disappearing again. So this is my gardening live chat. So if you're expecting something else, then you need to be following my other channel, and you'll get some more controversy on that one. Um, Last thing about my onions send shoes indoors. Should I wait for frost before taking them out? They're about 25 centimeters in height. How thick are they? So if the Senshu are designed to be able to take a bit of cold, so if they're inside your house and they're 25 centimeters high, that's a good height for them. I'd leave them there, and once the ground is soft enough to work with, then I'd get them planted out into the ground. Toss Stones joining us from New Zealand. Hope you're keeping well. Thank you very much for coming in. When you plant your potatoes, I normally plant my potatoes. Well, what I do is I plant a couple now into little buckets and stuff, but my main crop I normally plant at the start of March. Um, yeah, so my main crop or my main varieties of potatoes, I'll plant them in at the start of March and make sure that they're off to a good start from there. Last year, my potatoes actually did really poorly last year. They just didn't do well at all. I'm not sure what it is. I had some. So back to your question about supermarket potatoes. I had some potatoes that I bought from just true seed potatoes, planted them out. I had a couple of potatoes. Well, I say a couple. I had a few potatoes, probably a bag full that my sister brought around. That she'd left them in her kitchen drawer and they'd sprouted. So I brought them and I planted them. And I had some that I forgot to harvest last year, and they regrew themselves. So the ones that the ones that my sister brought around, they did really well. They grew into big, healthy, strong plants. Got a good harvest from them. The ones that grew themselves from the ones that I forgot to harvest, they did really well, and I'm still harvesting potatoes from them. They're still in the ground, and I'm still picking them as and when I need them. Um, and the ones that I bought planted from seed potatoes, for some reason, it was Desiree variety as well, and I've never had a failure with them. Those potatoes, the potato plants were just really weak. They came up, they were really weak, and they just produced absolutely nothing. So really disappointed with those things last year. Um, so they're still thin because they're cramped in a pot noodle pot. So what I'd do in that case then is I'd separate them out. You know, if you've got like a small plant pots, maybe 5 centimeter pots, or something a little, even a little bit smaller, I'd separate them out and just make sure they're planted. You know, so they're easy to plant when it comes to time to plant them out. Because if you're about 3 or 4 weeks away from planting them in the ground, they'll put on some good size. If you've got a greenhouse or if you've got somewhere protected outside that you can put them like a cold frame, or with onions, you don't even need a cold frame. I'd separate them out, let them settle in, and then once they've settled in and they've got the roots establishing in the new little pot, then I'd move them outside and just keep them protected somewhere in a shed, anywhere really. They'll be absolutely fine. Um, so Derek, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. It's a bit chilly here in Germany, so I'm now enjoying a nice cup of hot tomato soup. The temperatures are about to drop here. Gary Crowther, Sutton is a variety of broad bean, low growing, high yielding. I've not seen that variety. That sounds like a good variety actually. How tall do they get? Um, Indigit, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Noor Ali wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hope you're keeping well. So when you say very short, how short are they supposed to? How tall are they supposed to get? Okay, I have some in buckets in the garage. They're ones I grew from last year. Yeah, so I've still got a few buckets that I need to harvest. Uh, you know, the problem is when I grow potatoes, right? Um, with homegrown potatoes, you've got to have homemade chips. Yeah, you've got to have homemade chips with homegrown potatoes, and with that, I absolutely love the you know the you know when you cut into a fresh potato that you've just taken out of the soil. There's a crisp and a crunch to when you cut it, and when you fry them, they turn into something really the best tasting potatoes that you can, the best tasting chips you can ever have. Um, so I go through a phase where we're having all these potatoes, and then I'm getting really fat. So then I have to go on a diet, and then I can't be eating loads of potatoes again. But last summer or last year when it was harvesting time, I was trying to stay away from fried food and stay away from chips. So we've got loads and loads of potatoes left because I haven't eaten them. So I'm going to have loads of my own potatoes that I'm still harvesting, and I'm going to have loads of my own potatoes that I'm going to be able to plant out again. Um, but I am disappointed about Wilco's. Where's everyone else getting the seed potatoes this year? 25 centimeter maximum height. Wow. I have wilding potatoes throughout my orchard. My ducks don't touch them. Could I plant potatoes and deep wood chip mulch successfully in my orchard? Absolutely, you could. They'll do as long as there's decent airflow. They won't mind a little bit of shade. They'll be okay. I've planted them under my fruit trees before. Um, so yeah, absolutely, definitely, you could plant them in the wood chip mulch. So I've planted some. I've just sown some chili seeds, aubergine, lettuce, and broad beans. Everyone's ahead of me. I need to get my chilies planted. Uh, I'm just really struggling for time at the minute. I'm really, really struggling for time. So we've got Big Mac. How are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Always homemade chips with I may say the name 1990s Russell Hobbs fryer. Uh, so yeah, we had a Russell Hobbs deep fat fryer. Um, it was really good actually. It's gone now, so we're back to using the old fashioned saucepan on the cooker. Um, but my wife wants me to get an air fryer. She's been looking at air fryers to get, so that's the thing. We're going to be ending up, we're going to end up as part of that air fryer crew that always talks about air fryers. Have you heard the joke? How do you know if someone's got an air fryer? Because they'll tell you every 10 seconds. Um, so my daughter really loves fresh homemade chips, French. Yeah, I mean you can't beat homemade chips, fresh potatoes, freshly made. You just can't match it. It's absolutely amazing. Um, but I need to get back on my diet. But saying that, I'm walking like crazy at the moment. So well, I didn't get out today because my wife wanted me to put this curtain rail up. But every single day this week, we've been out. I've been out doing probably 10, 15,000 steps every single day. Um, doing my leaflets. So we're getting some good exercise again, getting back into it. An air fryer is just a fan oven. It's like homemade popcorn. Homemade, yeah. See, homemade popcorn. I do that for the kids. Um, uh, yeah. See, that's one of my jobs. Um, I use if you use a mix of coconut oil because and olive oil. Just throw a bit of olive oil in, chuck a bit of coconut oil in, and then chuck your kernels in, a little bit of sugar in there, and yeah, the coconut oil just gives it a different taste to the popcorn. Really good. Um, See, I was doing all right, with my weight. I got into really good shape last year, and this winter I've really let it go again. Um, so anyone been collecting leaves to put on the curb? See, they don't do that in our where we are. See, I've seen a lot of American gardeners. They go around just collecting the bagged up leaves. They don't do that where I am. I wish they did because if they did that, I'd be all over it. But I'm lucky enough. Some of my neighbours they clean the gardens and they bag up the leaves and drop them off for me. But I'm really disappointed that it's sad that they don't do it, bag up leaves like they do in America over here. Because I'd be grabbing them and filling them up and bringing them home. Moz, how are you doing, big man? I hope you're keeping well. Thanks for making it in. I hope everything's good with you. Guys, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like as you're coming in. So I found the best method of popping corn, 10 to 15k steps. On my work, I do about 8k there. So those steps are just because I'm out leafleting every day, Derek. So I'm just putting my campaign leaflets out a little bit behind schedule. I wanted these completed in December, but hopefully we'll get them completed in the next couple of weeks. Just need people power. It's hard work when you're on your own a lot of the time. I watched one of your videos. I think you said you planted 100 broad beans. If I heard you correctly, is that not too much? It depends. If you like broad, I used to plant a lot of broad beans just for cover crops. So I plant them and then leave them for the soil. So I don't know if it's one of my earlier videos or one of my later videos, but now we actually grow the broad beans and we eat a lot of them. So we grow some for cover crops, for the just for the soil, and we grow some for eating ourselves. And the ones that we're eating ourselves, either will, you know, if you make a dal out of broad beans, it's absolutely amazing. Is, you know, if you make a dal type of dish with broad beans, you know, because the melt fresh broad beans will melt really nice. So it's a really nice soup to, you know, you can make a really nice soup with it. So I like them like that, and I like them cooked with other things as well, especially with fish. Um, so I've got into eating broad beans now, and then we freeze a lot, you know, to use for the later on in the year. So like now we've got a lot of, we've still got broad beans that are in the freezer, so we're still tucking away at them. So oil, put on a low heat until the kernels swell and mix max heat. Every single kernel will pop. Um, and sometimes it is good to sow them as companion crops. Yeah, yeah. Just getting fatter. Moz, I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling. Yeah, yeah. You just end up, especially over winter when you're not out as much, you just end up turning into a bit of a potato. Um, Karen, how are you doing? Thanks very much for keep coming in. Hope you're keeping well. Hope everything's good with you. See, what I do is I've got this really, really thin bottomed, you know, really thin pan, really light. So I chuck a load of oil in. So a bit of olive oil, a bit of coconut oil, and then once the oil's heated up, throw the kernels in. Within a couple of minutes, they just start popping, and as they pop in, I use, you know, those glass lids and just shake the pot, and yeah, I get a good pop rate. We do get a few that don't pop. Do you direct sow sweet corn or grow in little toilet roll cardboards first? I sow them in pots. Sweet corn don't like soggy bottoms, so they struggle in toilet rolls, and I hate those, you know, those compostable containers, plant pots things. They don't work at all. I think I found most seeds grown in those just really struggle, and then you're having to rip the bottoms so the roots can get out as well, because sometimes the roots can just get stuck, they don't quite penetrate. So I don't like those paper pots. So what I tend to do is I'll grow sweet corn in probably 5 centimeter pots, and then when they're, just leave them in there all the way through and then when they're about a foot and a half tall, a foot tall, that sort of height, then I'll go and plant them out into the garden. um, Tina, how are you doing? Thanks very much for coming in. Is anyone else's plot garden flooded? So we've got surface water on the garden. It's absolutely sodden. It's really wet, really slippy, but it's not flooded because we're right at the top of the hill, so everything just runs down. But the ground is absolutely overwhelmed with water. What about you? Has anyone else got a flooded garden? Ali, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing? Hope everything's good with you. Um, Gary, I'm sure everyone agrees with you about Wilco's demise. Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking, man, that's gone. Um, what should I be sowing? I've done onions. What next? If you're planting chilies, chilies, if you grow chilies are it's really good to get them in planted now, but you're going to need some heat. So some kind of heat mat or some kind of source for heat, and maybe lights for February and March. Um, Yeah, so that's that one. Lettuce, you don't need anything for that. If you've got a windowsill, plant your lettuce. If you've got a greenhouse, they'll do. You know, it'll be fine out there. Um, what else? You've done your onions, lettuce, broad beans. Get them planted. Towards the end of the month, early next month, you could even plant peas. Um, yeah. So there's a good number of seeds that you can actually grow. Um, which variety do you go for? I'm in a cold area like you. I'm not sure what the first part of that question was. I've loads to do at the allotment, but weather has been terrible. Tomorrow is supposed to be nice, but guess what? I'm going out on my paddleboard, and it's freezing tomorrow. You're gonna be out on your paddleboard in that cold, freezing water. It's gonna be hard work for you out there. Uh, I have a truck full of bag leaves. I've mulched my garden beds. Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. I'm really happy for you that you got loads of leaves. Yeah, for some reason yeah, I'm struggling to get them. Um, so I fell the other day on grass. First time I fell for a long time. Oof. Um, I saw sweet corn in pot noodle pots. Yeah, pot noodle pots are absolutely brilliant. You know, they're the perfect size plant pot. It's a shame that they don't make plant pots that size because when they make plant pots, they're probably half as tall as a pot noodle pot and not quite as wide as one. I think pot noodle pots are absolutely perfect. You know, the size is absolutely brilliant. And it's useful to recycle those pots as well because at the moment that's what I'm living off. So when I go to work in the morning, I take a sandwich with me, and when I come home, just before I come home, I'm eating a pot noodle before I'm coming home. So I'm getting I'm generating probably 4 or 5 tubs a week. So I didn't notice much about saturation. Graham Bolton's garden looked well flooded. I haven't seen a picture of his place, but he's done a brilliant job on getting his place sorted. He's done amazing. Um, I don't know what my family does on our horses. Sweet corn variety. So last year I grew a variety called um, something sun. What was it? It'll come to me. Sun, yeah, the variety will come to me. It was an F1 variety, but I've gone for an organic variety this year. True Gold. Some of the guys on here were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, months ago. But the True Gold, yeah, True Gold is what I've gone for this year. Um, we put all our chilies and we put all of our chilies and peppers from last year, pot them up, and the conservatory about 70% are doing well. Nice work. I mean, I've managed to save 4 plants. I took 4 plants to the office. Oh, my mum might have saved a load on the windowsill downstairs. Um, I took about 4 plants to the office, and yeah, you're gonna like this. So on my office windowsill, my window's not massive; it's tiny, probably about a foot and a half wide. But I pot them up into small pots, and I've got them on the windowsill. And these heavy rains, we've got an old building, a flat roof. So what happens? The water starts leaking through. I tell my landlord the water's leaking through. He's like, okay, we'll look at it. And you know those suspended ceilings, those whatever they're made from, those roofing tiles, that gets soggy and it just collapses and breaks 2 of my chili plants. They're still alive, but yeah, they're still alive, but I'm not happy. brassicas are good in pot noodle pots. See, I start them off a lot tighter, with brassicas, and then put them into a bigger pot a little bit later, and then plant them from that if I can be bothered. Otherwise, I'll start them off really tight, and then separate them out. Plant them straight into the garden. What's your favourite variety of tomato? I see again. There's an F1 variety called Sweet Million. I love Sweet Million. They're a slightly bigger cherry tomato, but they're just so productive. Really, really productive. The trusses grow trusses. I had one tomato plant, not last year or the year, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago when Dean came down. But I had one tomato plant of Sweet Million, and it grew 14 trusses. That's like my record of a tomato plant in my greenhouse. It went up, and then I bent it around, and then I took it horizontally. But it grew 14 trusses, and I've got Dean to witness that. So yeah. The other ones, a bigger tomato. I mean, Marmande is quite nice. San Manzano is quite good as a plum tomato. But another one that Dean got me introduced to was Sun Gold. And last year I grew Sun Gold, and that's a really good tomato. Just is they're not great for having. The skins are a little bit thin, so they do tend to crack. But Sun Gold are just absolutely delicious to just pick and eat, and they've got a different fragrance to the rest of the tomatoes as well. So yeah, that's a really good tomato, cherry tomato. Does anyone grow giant Greek beans? I'm going to be growing them this year. I think it was Derek Barker that sent me some seeds last year. So I'm going to be growing some this year for the first time. Brian, how are you doing? How are you keeping? I'm so, yeah, really, really good to see you. Ali, assalamu alaikum. I still got those tomato seeds if you want. I won't grow them this year, as I think they will do better in greenhouse. I don't have a greenhouse. It's a dwarf. Yes, I do want them. Have I not? Didn't I reply to you? Okay, after this live stream, as long as I remember, I'm gonna go in and send you a message with my address. I've seen them Sweet Million. I love them. They're brilliant, and Sun Gold are delicious. Yeah. I had one of those grew suckers from the fruit set. Yeah, some gold do that as well. They grow a sucker from the end of the fruit truss. I've been following you for ages. You're the grow guy. Done onions and my chilies. What next, lol? So you've done your onions, you've done your chilies. Get some lettuce in. If you want to be a bit cheeky, if you've got a greenhouse, stick a potato in a tub and forget about it. That'll be a quick. Get some lettuce in though. Get some chard. Some. You could even start your brassicas if you can keep them a bit cold. If you can keep them a bit protected. Broad beans, Big Mac. Get your broad beans in. Yeah, everyone's loving Sun Gold. I'm normally in bed by now. How's your health, Brian? I've grown Greek beans for the last couple of years. You won't be disappointed. I'm looking forward to them then, because Derek sent me some last year, and Joe, he sent them to me at the start of the year. Then my mum put them somewhere and we couldn't find them for the rest of the season. And then right at the end of the season, she pulled them out. And it's like, okay, now what do I do? I'll save them for next year and we'll plant them again. So it's a proper beef steak, perfect for like burger and similar stuff. Yeah. I fancy you got the giant Greek beans. I believe the seeds that are used for butter beans. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you'd use the seeds. I mean, normally with any sort of bean that we say for seed, um, if we don't dry them, we freeze them, and then we'd use them. Just if you ever make sag, spinach. If you ever make sag, just throw in a handful of dry beans as you're cooking it. Absolutely, yeah, it's awesome. Really, really good. I'm a district nursing every day. I don't want to lose my Brian, man. Um, is it free? Is it free from infection? Um, does anyone grow perpetual spinach? Does it taste the same as normal spinach? So with spinach, there's you can get the ones that you grow. A lot of people will grow for baby leaves, and they'll grow them for salads. Um, I'm just trying to think of some varieties, but perpetual's a bit. It's a bit. You can taste the. In Bangla, we'd call it hosh. It's a bit. It's got a bit of an aftertaste as perpetual spinach. Um, it's a lot more like chard in texture. So if you grow chard and you grow perpetual spinach, you're going to struggle to tell the difference between them. Um, I've been given about 6 times a bean to try and grow, and I've had much. What was that? Something just happened to my TikTok live. I don't know what. Oops. Something's going on there. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, something just happened on my TikTok live. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. It's your live goal. It's your live goals. Oh, how does TikTok know what my life goals are? But that's good. Um, but yeah, so people are sending me invitations to go live. No, thank you. Mabs, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Change it up. Um, Lal Tufan, I'm not sure. Change it up. Yeah. Let's see what else is coming in. So, I can never do the twist again. Good evening, Rob. How are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Half-time football. There we go. How's everyone doing? Steve from Norfolk. How are you doing, mate? Long time no see. Hope everything's good with you. It's gifting of you. You have a goal, so I can. Oh, mashallah. Oh, thanks very much. I appreciate that. It, see, I just press. When I come onto TikTok, I just press go live, and we're away. But that was very kind of you for completing the goal. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Um, so what's going on over there? So, Alan, you're getting muted and you'll get blocked as well. Okay, because we don't tolerate any racism on this channel. We don't tolerate racists. We've got no time for you. So you get blocked, you get muted, and then you get blocked. So go and sit in the bin. Um, so Yeah, maybe you got someone said I won the lottery. I wish I won the lottery. I don't play it, but yeah, it'd be good if someone just gave me £1 million so I could buy my farm. So if there's any rich ancestors I've got out there that wants to buy me a farm, I'll just keep dreaming. So I'm good, mate. I had 2 years out. How is everything? How's life treating you? Steve, we did the last live of last year. We did My Family Garden and Friends. So we had open mic season again. We're going to be doing that because he used to come on quite a bit. So we're going to be doing that once a month and get a few people up here to have a chat with me and make it a bit more interesting. But it'll just be on YouTube. It won't. When am I coming to Walsall? Um, I don't know. It's not going to be anytime soon. Um, yeah, it's not going to be anytime soon, unfortunately. Um, we just had holidays now, but all my time's been gone, with getting my leaflets and stuff out for my campaign. So, and it's just really busy at work, so I'm struggling. That's why I haven't even been able to put a video out for. I can't remember the last video I did. It was probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I do apologise to everyone for not getting a video out. We'll get back to it. I just need to get life back on track. Everything's just all, it's too much. It's too much going on at the moment. Any advice on which melon variety grows in a greenhouse in Leeds? Sugar Baby is supposed to be good. That's a watermelon variety. It's a small one. A few people have had success with it. I've not had success with any watermelons. I've had a few with cantaloupes before, but they never grew to a few full size cantaloupe. They were probably the size of an orange. They were still quite tasty, but they never actually grew big enough to make it worthwhile for me to try again. Um, can anyone else recommend some melon varieties for indie? Um, Karen saying you can do your parsnips now. So Rob won the postcode lottery a few years ago. Did you become a millionaire? Happy and Kenneth, how are you doing? Thanks very much for coming in. Happy and healthy 2024. Thanks very much, bro. Hope everything's good with you, and hope life's treating you well. So I'm not sure what I'd do with £1 million. Probably end up giving it away. I want my farm. I just want to get on some land. Very different now, running a pub. Knees are knackered, but gonna try and get back into growing. See, I've seen your posts about your pub and everything. But yeah, it's going to be hard when you're managing your own business and you're trying to manage an allotment. Have you got any growing space in your around the pub or anything like that, or can you put some raised beds in around that? Kato family, thanks for coming in, and you take care, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, Rob won. Oh, you won £10. Okay, so not quite enough to buy your farm. I want to go to bed, but I won't let everyone know. This is a fantastic person. Big Mac, thanks for coming in. You take care. I really appreciate you coming in. Zach is not here to ask you if you work for McDonald's again, but yeah, you have a good night. How much land would be enough? Do you know what I'd want? I'll tell you what I'd want. I'll tell you my dream bit of land. Okay, this would be my dream. Maybe on a little bit of a hill, so not a massive mountain, but a little bit of a hill with a stream that flows down it, and a bit of a pond. Maybe a pond at the top of the hill and a pond at the bottom of the hill. a couple of horses, a few, a couple of cows, some sheep, um, loads of chickens. Uh, so, so for yeah, loads of chickens, ducks for the ponds. Pond, but the pond has to be big enough to grow your own fish to eat as well. And then probably about 4 or 5 acres of growing space, and the rest orchards and wild trees and a bit of a woody area. So all in all, for myself, I'd love to have about 20 acres. You could do a lot on 20 acres. Yeah, that'd be the dream. Um, and pepino, not a melon, but ripe fruit tastes very much like a melon, and its perennial mine have survived the frost. Pepino. I've never heard of a pepino. Let's have a Google. Okay, yeah, I've seen this. Actually tastes like a melon. Excuse me. So that tastes like a pet melon. Okay, that's interesting. Oh no, but because I've seen those seeds before, you can get them in the UK. Those seeds. I love the season end and the harvest time, but I'm itching to get a start. Um, see, we're not going to get that cold. We're probably going to get to about -3, -4 maximum. We're not going to get anywhere near as cold as you, but I'm very much of a grower rather than someone who likes harvesting. So rather than a harvester, I love doing the growing. I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for my mum doing all the harvesting, a lot of the stuff would just go to waste, because I like growing stuff. I like planting the seed. I like prepping the soil. I like getting the plant up and growing and turning into something. But I'm not very good at taking that thing that we've grown and produced and turning it into something, or picking it off the plant and bringing it in. Although I only pick stuff when I'm told, go and pick, go and get some potatoes or go and get some tomatoes, or if I'm snacking as I'm going. Um, so I'm not great at harvesting, but I love growing. I really love growing. Um, so you've got loads of space, got a few raised beds, got some onions and some garlics. Looks like you do. Good to see that you're still growing, my friend. I'll pop in from time, so I might even start a few. Start a few vids, not kids. Yeah, I get you. Um, so yeah, if you want to come in on the open mic day, keep an eye out. Um, I didn't wait my peppers over in bananas. Bananas. Brian, you've got bananas growing. Rob saying his favorite part is sowing the seeds. See, there's something magical about that time. When you take the seed and you put it, you've harvested your compost, you turn your compost into your perfect growing medium, and then you're taking your seed, put it in, and then once you see that plant popping through the soil, uh, that yeah, excuse me. Um, yeah, that's just absolutely amazing when you've got that plant off to the good start and you see it growing. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love nurturing that plant and then getting it into the ground and turning it into something that's going to produce. I'm just not very good at harvesting. Um, I didn't. So yeah, bananas from seed. Brian, I can't wait to see your bananas, man. Um, he's in the UK. He's not far from us. He's not far from us actually. Yeah, He's in the UK and he's not far from us. But guys, we've passed the 9 o'clock mark, so we've just done over an hour. No, he's in the north of England, Eric. Manchester. He's not far from us at all. But we've passed that 9 o'clock mark, and I'm going to call it a night here. It's been lovely talking to you, and it's nice to catch up with everyone again. Hopefully we'll get, I know I said it last week, I'm just really struggling for time, so don't hold it against me, everyone, please. But I'm just really struggling at the minute. But hopefully we'll get a video out soon. But other than that, I'll see you again next week. So thanks for coming in and chatting. Right, okay. There we go.